Hello, everyone. Well, so good afternoon. Thank you for joining at 4 p.m. Um, yeah, thank you for joining for our back to school Q&A session. I'm Helena from Renaissance. We just want to prepare you for a smooth start to 2026 as everything can get a little bit hectic. This session is designed to be interactive, so please feel free to drop all your questions into the Q&A at any time. And our fantastic education advisor, Max, is here. And we'll make sure he can get everything covered and work through all the questions during this session. If it goes over time, we'll definitely get to your questions anyway. We'll follow up any that come through. So yes, please pop everything that you have in there. Max will also show you the back to school webpage where you can find hopefully some of the answers to the questions. Yeah, thank you guys. Over to Max.
Wonderful. So yes, thank you everyone for joining us. We are going to go over everything that you need for back to school. So I'm just going to send a link in the webinar chat. That is our back to school site. I've also got it up, and I'm just going to share my screen real quick so we can all see that. So I'm going to just go through this site. Please feel free, if you have some of those questions, please put those into that Q&A box, and I'll be able to answer those. But let me just kind of go through this back to school site. It's very similar if you've went through the process of setting up your site in previous years, but very similar process. Not much has changed. So we have gotten a new website, so maybe a little bit has changed in terms of the look of our back to school site on our website. First is just those end of year reports that if you use them, download them. If you don't use them, not many schools use all three. You might use that screen report or one of the others. If you use them though, there is that option of selecting the PDF download for all of those, so you can download those and save those. Now, with that said, we can technically run those reports next year. It's just very difficult with the different classes that we have, the different date ranges that we have. It just is very difficult to replicate that kind of exactness with classes and dates for next year. That is why we suggest downloading those to kind of save that headache for you next year. Underneath that is our back to school checklist that has everything to go through, including setting up those dates, putting in the new school year, the new school term dates, all those other kind of date-related fields there, and then setting yourself up for success with the import as well. We do have that template available for you, and that is the same template that we've used in previous years. That includes all those required fields, and that also includes all those other bits and pieces. The main thing about that template import is really matching students to their current login details this year. The best way of doing that is that student ID. If we're using a unique ID, our school ID for students, and including that with our upload, that is primarily how your Renaissance site will match students. Now, you can also match students to their first and last name. However, that sometimes doesn't match exactly. If I go by Max Prout one year, and the next year I go by Maxwell Prout, it won't match that automatically, which does sometimes occur. So those student IDs, those unique IDs, those are the best things because those rarely change, if at all, at our schools. Now, below those downloads there, we will be having more of these sessions next year. Those dates are to be determined, but similar to early 2025, we held quite a few. So you can expect the same kind of amount of those sessions. They will be recorded, just like this one will be. So even if you just register, you'll still get that recording, so you can kind of watch that back. Or if you suggest these sessions to any teachers or anyone at the school, we can always come and ask any questions at all. I know today we're really going to probably focus around setting up for next year. But even if you do have those questions about best practices, what reports to run, how to best use Mayan with Accelerated Reader, anything like that, we can support you with that. So any questions, feel free to jump in with those. And also anyone that is using TestWise for whether it's CAT4, NGRT, NGST, any of those GL assessments, we'll be having a very similar session next week. So similar process, I'll go through TestWise, run through kind of some of those pieces of the process to set up for next year, importing students, setting up those sittings, and viewing students' teachers' reports as well. So again, we'll have that same kind of session, same format, where you'll be able to ask those questions should you want to. And if you haven't gotten enough of me, you can always run it back and watch that school import process with the video there. That is 20 minutes long. I really go through everything from setting up those term dates to importing a roster or importing a CSV file. I do go through the process of an incorrect CSV file, so you can kind of see how that might work, and all the way to fully importing my students. Now, with that said, I know the frustrations of that CSV file, from the exact formatting to just all the rest of the pieces in that CSV file there. If you start to get frustrated at all, send that through to us. We will help you. In years previous, there have been times where the focus has been to direct people to our back to school site, but we're in a great position where we can support you with that. If you've tried, you haven't been able to do it, send that through to us. We do supply a secure link to upload that student data file. So we can take that, ensure that it's formatted correctly. And if you're happy to upload that, or if you prefer to upload that yourself, we can do that, or we can also upload that for you. So again, if you're getting any kind of frustration towards this process, please feel free to come our way through to our support email, or give us a call, and we're happy to send you that link. You'll find those support details at the top of the website here. And I'm just going to push that website in again, just so everyone has that for anyone that may have come a little bit later now. Okay, so a couple of questions have come through. So I'll start answering those. Please feel free to put any more questions in for that. Is there any way to simplify setting up classes besides the spreadsheet? There are other options. I've got my site open right here. The reason that we suggest the upload option is because if I go to manage apps and users, is because things change. Students go into different classes, new students come into play. It works best if we're using this upload your roster option right here. Now, there are copy options. There's a manual option as well. Now, the copy options copies exactly what you see in your site today. So if we have the same students in the same classes next year, that's going to be a fine way to do it. However, very, very, very few of our schools run that way. So the best way of ensuring your students are uploaded, are in your site with the correct details, is uploading that roster, using that CSV file, and again, coming to us with any kind of support questions if you have those. Okay, do I need to download my data from this year? How would I do that? Yep. So we saw those three different reports: screening report, annual progress monitoring report, and student progress report. Those fall right here, and our screening report's just here. If we wanted to download those, if we wanted to save that data in its kind of current form there, what I can do is make sure I've got my class, my assessment type. If I'm using those screening windows, or I can put in a custom date range, which is what I prefer. And then you can group those by our classes or by year levels. I prefer the year levels. We can update that. And if we wanted to download our year 6 students just right there to see where they kind of lie right now. And then if we're going to be running this again in the new year, where they are going to be in the new year, I can come back up to, I have options here. Print or save, that'll download it as a PDF. Downloading the data will download it as a CSV file, so we can kind of manipulate that a bit more. There's also always going to be that PDF button at the very top of your screen for any report. So that PDF button will generate that doc that will download, and that will save to your computer. So that is our best way of downloading those reports. Again, all those reports have that PDF option. Not every report has that CSV file download option. Good question coming through there. How can I add a new school year to my group of school year? So if we head back to our managed apps and users. All right. If I go back to my managed apps and users, I've got my school calendar just here. This is where I'm setting up any dates at all just there. So there's a little bit of a trick with setting up those future dates. Now I already have a 2026 school year in there. If I don't, I'm going here to add a school year, and I don't need to go as far as 2028, but typically that'll already kind of be inputted there with those next school year dates just there. So we have our school year and we have our first day and last day for students. I will give a little bit of a tip for this one. Whenever you start the school year, that's when teachers and students can jump in and start working on, start reading, sorry, Reader Mayan. It's great for teachers. Sometimes our schools will start it on the very first day of term, but if we have anyone in the school coming in before that first day of term, which most likely we do, they can't access your site. So we just need to kind of backdate it a little bit. We can always come in and edit those school years. So that is an option for you just there. So a little bit of a tip for you all. But if I'm then adding in my school year and I wanted to add in those term dates, I need to work in the specific year that I want to add in those term dates. So if I'm going to work in 2026, just cancel out of that. I'll make sure and confirm that I'm working in that school year, and that's when I start to put in those term dates. So I've got almost all my term dates in there. I can get term 4 into there, which I might just do it right now. Or select my date range. Guessing here, all the way up to October, and we might start on the 12th and end on the 18th. Looks good. Now, there is an option of selecting, the default will be a marking period. You can also select a term, or if you use semesters or any of the other options that you have there. The difference between term and marking period is just the name. Nothing will change within your site. It won't change anything. So that's your preference, whether you choose marking period or term. So I can add that in. I've got my 4 terms there. Having the terms in there, I will say, is really beneficial for accelerated reader targets because you can set those targets termly instead of having just one large sum of points for students to try and achieve. Having those termly targets works better for multiple different achievements, or if we didn't achieve it term 1, well, you've got 3 other chances during the year to try and achieve those targets there. Okay. So I am reading these questions out of the Q&A box. Not everyone will be able to see those. I don't think we've put those on there. If we can't see the chat, we should be able to see the chat, at least my messages through to everyone. I think we've disabled messages coming from you all. We've kind of pushed you into the Q&A box to answer those questions, but I'll try and send through that that's back to school link just one more time. If you do come in a little bit later, you won't see the previous messages that I've sent in the webinar chat. So I've just sent that back to school site in there one more time. Okay. If there's any other questions, please feel free to put those into the Q&A box there. Another thing, when I'm working in my school year here, if I do go to my homepage and I'm starting to look at other things, and then I head back to my manage apps and users, that won't stay there. So it will kind of go back to our current school year that we're working in. So if we're then kind of going to try and go back and edit our school calendar, we will need to then again start working in the 2026 school year just there. So just so you're aware, and we're starting to edit term dates in this school year instead of the next school year. Wonderful stuff. All right. If you have any more questions, please feel free to put those through. I'm always happy to answer those. All right. A comment has come through. I always have a problem with the birth date configuration on the spreadsheet, and it never lets me put it in as we require, and then I can't get my class to upload. I can relate, let me tell you. So my best option, and I am not at all a spreadsheet pro, very much amateur. So there is, bear with me for a second, and I'm going to open up a spreadsheet that I downloaded earlier. So bear with me. There is a kind of blanket formatting that we suggest. But I will say again, if you run into any issues, and this is probably the most common issue, the birth date format is most likely, if you're going to encounter an issue, this is probably it. And I wish I was a little bit better with Excel spreadsheets, but that's besides the point. So let me just bring this up here. So this is the template that you would download from our site. Let me just close out of these other items that we don't really need to see. Yep. And getting a whole bunch here. So I'll go through this just slightly for any of us that maybe this is kind of new to you. With the spreadsheet, the template that you're going to download from our back to school site, we have color coded it a little bit. Our green sections are those mandatory pieces of information. So we have our students' first and last name, their year level, their birth date. This is the kind of primary issue that we might have with that. So if we do have that issue, most of us are going to be copying and pasting these dates from another kind of downloaded export from one of our systems. So if we do have an issue, our suggestion is to right click on our, whether it's our column here or those fields that have a birthday, and it is format cells. And we're coming here to date. We want to make sure that locale is English and Australia in parentheses. And then we can select day, month, year, year. So that is what we need for that file to be correct and uploaded properly. Now, keeping on with our kind of color coding here, we have our course and class. You'll have your class names that you will put in there. The course can really be anything. whether you keep it as reading, you put in accelerated reader, you put in Renaissance, library, literacy, anything like that, whatever you choose is fine. Our suggestion has always been keep it consistent. It makes it a little bit easier when we're putting in the students and kind of going through our classes and courses in the site. But those two things, they are mandatory, so we do need to put those in. And then for our teachers, we need their first and last name and their email. Now, those sections in yellow, they're not mandatory. We highly suggest them. And I would say the thing that we suggest the most is that student ID. I already mentioned it before, but if we're using a school ID, that is a really good use of that school ID because, again, that's not changing year over year. I can put that in there and the system will match my students to that exact same number there or that ID there. So that's a really important one. But you'll see that the username and password for our students and our teachers, those are also, we suggest those. It's more along the lines of if you already have login details for students, you can put in an email here for both accounts. That works really well for students because it's something that they might already be using. So rather than having them remember something else, making it a little bit easier for not only your students, but for teachers as well. And then student emails can be inputted in there as well. And then if those are inputted, those student emails, we can start to go down the road of single sign-on. So that is something that was introduced last year. Some schools have taken that up and use it quite frequently. So if we put in our student emails, we can you can let us know and we can essentially switch that on, that single sign-on for you. Feel free to ask any questions about any details around that and I'll do my best to answer those. Another one, do you need to delete students that maybe have left the school or have left, have maybe graduated out of those programs? This is up to you. I don't necessarily have to. You can, if you prefer that kind of clean data for your site. However, once we delete those, they're gone. So if we needed to or wanted to run a report looking at any kind of star results, AR, anything like that on the site, we won't be able to do that. So a lot of schools, what they'll do is for those students that have kind of graduated out or aren't at the school anymore, they keep them in there, and then just in case, they can kind of run those reports for those students if needed. So it doesn't matter a whole lot if you don't delete them. Nothing really changes in your site. It's a little bit busier on the users page when we're searching for users, but yeah, there's not really a correct answer either way, whatever your preference is for that. Single sign-on. So we do allow that single sign-on. We have an option of having students use their email if we have an Outlook email or a Google email. I don't know if I have it on my site. Let me just try and log out, and I'm going to show you what that looks like a little bit. And it's through our site or through your Renaissance site. So it's not through any other kind of site or portal or anything like that. It is primarily using your details. Like if I had a Google email, I'd be able to use it just here. So again, if you're planning on using that, if you think that would just work a little bit better for your students, you can input that into your spreadsheet, that student email, and then you can let us know when that's been uploaded, and we can again turn that switch on for you. Does it take up a student seat if students who have left the school are still in the system? All right. Yes. So if we've had a student sit an assessment or take an AR quiz, as soon as they've kind of started either of those items there, that counts as a subscription seat. So that will take up a seat. And then if that student leaves, that subscription seat is still essentially allocated to that student. So it does still kind of take off for that student. We try our best to make sure we don't have to worry about those subscription seats for this very reason. When you've done your renewal, if you've done your renewal recently, within the past, kind of 2 years, essentially, we allocate just a few more. We usually round up to the next kind of round-ish number. So if you have 272 students, we'd round up to 275 to account for any new students that might come in, or if we have a couple of students that have left. Now, with that said, if we find that our students are having issues with getting in because of our subscriptions are over our allocated amount, contact us. You can contact myself or Emma, whoever your education advisor is. You can always contact our customer support team, and we can quickly do an add-on quote there, and it typically takes just a few days to make sure that those numbers are correct for you. Great questions coming through there. We don't. So the question is, we don't get charged for those seats if the quizzes are not done. It's more that we don't see that subscription used from your end. So if I ever wanted to look at my subscriptions, I can come here to the Manage Absent Users, and I can go down to Product Administration. And then I can go here to, it's kind of at the top of our page here, Subscriptions and Capacity. So as soon as a student kind of completes a quiz, one of these accelerated reader subscriptions would be used. So it would go from 171 to 170, and I'd see 30 used within my AR kind of date range there. So you can always check if you're curious about it, if you're wondering kind of where you are at. You can always come here to this page and see kind of exactly where those numbers are at. Wonderful stuff. We probably have time for one more question. So if you have a question, put that through. Otherwise, and if you've got to go, we understand. But again, we'll be having some more of these sessions in the new school year. That back to school page has been sent in the chat. It's also been sent in a couple of emails through to you all. So feel free to check back in when we have some of those sessions back up so you can register for those. I imagine we'll get those sorted soon. Last question coming in here. Can we do a new school year now, or do we have to wait till 2026? You can do that now. Anything within that school calendar, you can do that right now. You can even upload students right now, because when you do upload students, you get a little drop down of what school year you'd like to import those students into. So you'd need to enter in the school year first, but then you can upload your students now if you know those classes next year, which I know some of us don't. Wonderful. Okay. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to either call us or send us an email. Our email is inquiries, that is with an E, at renaissance.com. Oh, great question. Reports and date formats. Some of our dates might have a little bit of an American format there instead of the Australian format, which is day, month, year. So some of those reports will show month, day year. That is because we have a lot of schools in the US where Renaissance is originally from. So you might find that in some of those reports. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Again, we'll be having some more kind of in the new year. In the meantime, if you need anything, feel free to contact us via email, via phone, and we're always happy to answer those questions from you. Perfect.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.